Well, good day, everybody. Thank you for having me. And firstly, I'd like to introduce myself. My name is Rajesh, and I'm from Acies Innovations, Singapore. And today, I'm speaking to you from Jakarta for a session that's going to be happening in Manila. Now, that's what interconnectivity in action is all about. And it's apt from where I am. If I can just do a quick look around for where we are in a cafe in Jakarta, just to get you orientated, right? So I represent Acies Innovations, and Acies Innovations is a company that was imagined over a cup of tea um, in Bangalore, India. And thereafter, we formally registered ourselves in Singapore. Um, and today we operate across Europe, we operate in the Middle East, we operate in the US, India, Indonesia, and of course in Singapore. So our story is a living example of what it means to be truly interconnected, not just across borders, but across ideas, across talent, and with a shared purpose, a shared goal, a shared vision. I think the world today is more interconnected than it was pre-COVID. COVID really opened up these links of connection. So it has changed how leadership needs to be managed, how leadership needs to be groomed, and how leadership needs to develop. So I'm very excited about this talk that is going to be happening in Manila at the end of August. And of course, the conversations we're going to have. And one of that main conversation is why is it that being an interconnected leader is important? Now, leadership and interconnectability is no longer a title. Today, it's a mindset, right? An interconnected leader does not just operate in silos. As an interconnected leader, they create bridges. They are the bridge between their teams, between departments across the oceans, between knowledge, and most importantly, between people. Now, they know what is the most valuable asset in any organization. And we all know this, right? It's not just about what we know, but it's about what we share. So, in today's hybrid, fast moving world, we need leaders who can connect the dot across systems, across disciplines, and of course, across geographies. Now, that's where the interconnected leader will impact the lives because it's not just about running the business or running the organization. It is about growing your people, right? So, of course, interconnectability and leadership, it's a juggle sometimes. And many organizations will struggle, whether it is fragmented systems that they have, whether there is inconsistency in how knowledge is being shared, and of course, something that we're seeing very common in the world today, exclusion, right? Where certain voices are unintentionally left out, especially when you're working in a geographically separated organization. But if we get this right, and if we embrace intelligent and inclusive knowledge management, then the benefits are going to be enormous. Now, knowledge management has very much been confused to how documents are being kept, how access is being created for just the right people so that we don't cross. But I'd like to bring you into this concept of cross pollination. Why it is important for us to make sure that we share our knowledge about how we do things with another group or another department. And from there, they will understand the needs that we have when we are working in relation to that department. And when you understand what that department needs, you would streamline your processes to meet that department as well when they ask you for information. And suddenly, boom, productivity, efficiency, effectiveness has all increased. So the benefits that we're looking, if we get it right, is new insights. It's how we can retain critical knowledge even when people leave the organization, and how we can make smarter, faster decisions across the board. So inclusive KM or inclusive knowledge management ensures that everyone is contributing and everyone is benefiting. And today's method of intelligent KM ensures that knowledge is just not stored. It's an actionable item. It's being activated. So let's talk a bit about what I'm going to be sharing with you at the session on the 30th. Yep. And as I'm speaking to you, there are people who are walking into the cafe and you can see them in my background and things like that, right? But that's this. That's the beauty of it, right? That's the beauty of connectivity. So we must also understand that today's workforce is distributed, which means if you are in a hybrid setting, right, you do have parents who are working, and at some point of time, their kids going to come back home from school, right? So we have to be sensitive. So that awareness is how we're going to go about future proofing our teams. Now, there are three powerful pillars that guide this transformation. And today I put it down as GenAI, DEI or diversity, equity, inclusivity, and of course, sustainability. So let me start with GenAI. Now, this isn't just about an hype, right? GenAI is a tool, and it's a tool that's going to make your team and you more efficient. Now, let's talk about how GenAI can help. In one of my current works that I'm doing, a current project that I'm doing here in Jakarta, we've decided to use AI, a well-trained AI, to identify patterns from feedback that was sent in by participants of the course. Now, these patterns showed us, right, the strength, the weaknesses, the opportunities, and what could actually be a threat if how it was being delivered did not change. So a well-trained AI can actually provide you with patterns, can connect data points for you, and it can bring varied knowledge out to the surface. It does not, and I repeat, it does not replace the human element, but it augments it, right? That is the whole idea of Gen AI. Now, when we touch on DEI or diversity, equity, and inclusion, inclusive KM must reflect the voices of all our people, not just the loudest or those who are sitting in HQ. Now, in another project here in Jakarta, where we're working with one of the multinational non-profit organizations, one of the biggest things that they highlighted was actually the voices in the HQ are very loud. And they tend to think that we on the ground do not understand or we on the ground are too slow, right? But we are practical. We are practical. They were practitioners, so they were actually practicing KM. And the value of the knowledge in the project that we're doing was from the ground up to the HQ. So when we talk about DEI, it's about building a system that's going to be actable by design, not just to fit you in, not by retrofit, but by design, by organizational culture. It already talks about how everyone has a voice, everyone has a say, and everyone can contribute, regardless of the number of years you have been in that organization. Now, finally, sustainability. Now, we've heard of all the sustainable efforts that's going out there. And what we need to understand that for every sustainable effort, there is an element of how goals need to be designed. So sustainability talks about how the best knowledge systems don't depend on individuals and don't depend on platforms. Now, knowledge is not about IT systems. It's not about technology. It's not just a HR function. It's not a training tool. But managing knowledge effectively is about, I would like to put the number 70% about your people. 20% is about your process. And 10% there is tech. So effectively having sustainable knowledge within the organization is how we build resilience with that. So that that knowledge, that skill, that ability endures even when our teams evolve, even when our teams disperse. that knowledge becomes ingrained within the organization, almost like they know the know-how, they don't know why, they don't know when. Yeah? So how can we actually inspire our teams, um, our future leaders, those that we're grooming, or ourselves if we are really an interconnected leader? I would like to say there are three actionable power points that we can work on, right? Number one, model your behavior, right? Be the first to share, show your vulnerability, ask questions. Now, in many organizations, this is termed as leadership by example. So be that example. Start out first. Number two, create that safe space, like where I am today in a cafe, right? In Jakarta. Yeah. For me, this is where I operate the best. This is my safe space. So within your organization, you do not need to create a physical space, but there has to be a space where you encourage, reflect, where you listen actively and you make feedback a part of everyday work, right? So every routine needs to have an element of feedback. How did I do? Is there anything you'd like to improve? Is there some things that we can do better? What's the one thing that didn't work right for us? What's that one relationship that you built during this week? Questions that you can ask. And number three is recognize collaboration. Now, don't just reward the person with the answer, because chances are the answer was generated when a team brainstormed or when they had questions, when they worked together to get us to the answer. So there you go. My 3 pointers. Number one, model your behavior. Number two, create safe space. Number three, recognize collaboration. So bringing you a bit about ACES, right? At ACES, we've seen this play out in real time across many nonprofits that we've worked for and many corporates that we've worked for, right? So we saw this uh, become something that was an advantage to emergency response teams in ASEAN, right? To government and government institutions across India, across Singapore, across Indonesia, right? And to global businesses, businesses like Pepsi, businesses like Microsoft, where we did work with. Yeah? And we see that when people, platform, and purpose are aligned, then knowledge becomes a force multiplied. So, with that, if you're ready to unlock that power, I invite you to join us on the 30th of August at the Interconnected Leaders Summit here in Manila. And let's shape the future of leadership together. Thank you and look forward to connect with you. Bye bye.